going to learn about 7 dangerous kinds of personality types. Now, let's begin. Number 1, the constant controller. Our first dangerous personality is a real pain in the neck. They're nicknamed the constant controller because that's exactly what they do. They try to control everyone and everything they can get their hands on. Even if it's none of their business, they insert themselves where they just don't belong. They impose their beliefs, their values, and their morals onto other people, and they rain down guilt on anyone who comes up short. Now, this controlling nature stems from their very narrow perspective on the world. Constant controllers think there's a right and a wrong way to live your life, and they're convinced that they're doing it right. So they sit on their high horse and judge all the people who are living their lives differently. Whether it's about the job you've chosen, the place you live, or the people you love, constant controllers are the first to criticize your choices. But not all controllers are that forward and aggressive. Many prefer subtle insults and backhanded compliments to get their point across. In other words, they're notoriously passive-aggressive, and they rarely stop until they feel like they've gotten their point across. But here's the really interesting thing about controllers. They spend so much time criticizing others, but rarely take responsibility for their own problems. Instead, they pass the blame, and they make wild claims about how the world is out to get them, because they refuse to admit they might be wrong. So, how should you manage the constant controller in your life? Well, it's hard to say, but I'll tell you this, if you're trying to change them, you're barking up the wrong tree. Controllers don't listen to anybody, especially people they think they're better than. So really the best thing you can do is to take them with a grain of salt. Don't let their harsh comments hurt your feelings. And don't waste your time trying to please them. These judgmental people will always be judgmental, so never let them change who you are. Number 2, the roller coaster. Our next personality type isn't just frustrating, they're incredibly toxic. If you spend too much time with a roller coaster, it can destroy your self-esteem and leave you feeling absolutely miserable. So what makes this personality type so dangerous? Well, roller coasters think of themselves as very special people. They're gifts to the world, they're princesses or kings. Many roller coasters think they're doing you a favor just by speaking to you, because in their mind, you only have one responsibility, and that is to satisfy their every need. So it's really no surprise that roller coasters are needy, demanding, and cruel. But that's not where the nickname roller coaster comes from. This dangerous personality type is notorious for their volatility. All right, let's say, for example, that your partner is a roller coaster. One second, they might adore you. They might love everything about you. But suddenly, just 10 seconds later, everything changes. They start attacking and criticizing you, yelling about how you're ruining their life. Roller coasters swing between intense highs and intense lows. And they stir up drama everywhere they go. But that doesn't mean you should simply go along for the ride. If you have a roller coaster in your life, make sure you set firm boundaries and you stick to them. If you let them push you around, your dynamic is going to get more and more one-sided, and that can really take its toll on your life. Number 3, the vampire. Vampires suck the fun out of everything they do because they hate everything they do. They're always looking for reasons to be negative, reasons to complain or make others feel bad. If you spend too much time with a vampire, you may lose interest in your own passions because their consistent negativity ruins your fun. Just imagine you love eating at a certain restaurant. You've been eating there for years, you know everyone that works there, and you love everything on the menu. But one day, you show the restaurant to your friend. You're so excited to eat at your favorite spot, but they can't stop talking about how bad the food looks. They say things like, "How can you eat this?" Or, "Why would anyone pay for something this bad?" Won't that negativity change your opinion? Even though you loved that restaurant before, you might feel ashamed of it now. Luckily, there's one easy way to deal with a vampire. Try to remember that their consistently negative opinions don't dictate your own. So stand up for the things that you enjoy. If it's good enough for you, hey, that's all that matters. Number 4, the gift giver. Of all the personality types on this list, the gift giver may be the least destructive, but it still creates a subtle, toxic dynamic which can damage any relationship in the long run. At the core of any gift giver is a heaping helping of insecurity. Gift givers are insecure about themselves, they're insecure about their relationships, and they're constantly looking for reasons to doubt the people in their lives. In other words, gift givers don't have confidence in the connections they make. They struggle with faith and trust, so they go out of their way to prove their worth. For example, they'll use extravagant presents and big gestures to keep people around. Now, on the surface, gift givers seem kind and considerate. But in reality, these gifts create a lot of tension because gift givers always expect some huge reaction in return. But most of the time, they end up disappointed, which strengthens their insecurity and starts this toxic cycle all over again. If you know a gift giver, just let them know how important they are to you and make sure they know that your feelings aren't for sale. It may take a bit of time, but eventually these affirmations can ease their insecurities and relieve some of that unnecessary pressure. Number 5. The time bomb. We all know someone with a short temper. Whether it's your friend or your crazy uncle, we've all seen the damage that a quick temper can do. In a fit of anger, you lose the ability to think clearly. You start making rash decisions, and you do and say things that you regret. But why are these people so angry? In the mind of a time bomb, anger may be the only answer. Time bombs typically lack emotional maturity and emotional intelligence, so they have a limited emotional range, which makes it difficult to work through problems internally. Instead, their emotions explode outward. Everything from sadness to embarrassment to disappointment comes out looking like the same thing: anger. Just think about it this way. How often do you eat cereal? Maybe a few times a week for breakfast? But how often do you eat food? Several times every day, right? Okay, what if every time you were hungry, cereal was the only thing you could eat? You'd be eating cereal constantly, right? That's what's happening here. Anytime you trigger a negative emotion, time bombs always feel anger, leaving their real feelings jumbled up inside their head. Now, if this sounds like someone you know, there's a few things you should avoid. First of all, never match their anger. Fighting back is just going to escalate the situation and push their temper further out of control. Secondly, you can use your space to your advantage. If they're getting angry, just take a break, get some air, and give them some room to breathe. These personality types do have a quick fuse, but if you give them a chance to calm down, most will realize what they did wrong. Number 6. The Mooch. This dangerous personality type is a master manipulator. They're not afraid to take advantage of everyone they know because they only care about their own personal gain. They won't hesitate to make demands or take things from you because they think they deserve it. Much like the roller coaster personality type, a mooch has a bloated sense of importance. They believe they're better than everyone else, and they get insulted when people don't understand how special they are. Now, naturally, that giant ego breeds things like arrogance, self-absorption, and narcissism. In fact, many mooches are proud of their selfishness, and they spend time bragging about how manipulative they can be. If you have a mooch in your life, boundaries are your best friend. No matter how much pressure a mooch puts on you, don't let them get their way, because they'll just keep asking for more. Number 7. The Scaredy Cat. Our last personality type will do anything to avoid their problems. Scaredy cats have an excuse for everything because they're terrified of facing their fears. Even if it's something small like trying a new food or visiting a new place, every tiny bump in the road becomes a giant hurdle in their life, and that hurdle may take years to get over. Now, while scaredy cats aren't directly dangerous, they can be a huge burden because they make you tackle their problems for them. They're too scared to do things on their own, so you get stuck picking up the slack. But here's the worst part. They rarely ever realize or acknowledge how much they rely on others. In other words, don't expect a thank you anytime soon. So, how do you deal with a scaredy cat? Well, you stop doing everything for them. You force them to either face their fears or suffer the consequences. Every time you save them, you're supporting this terrible habit because you're giving them a way out. Instead, give them an opportunity to change, encourage them, motivate them, and help them build their confidence. And that way, they can finally start facing their fears on their own.